This may be the longest video I have made so far, not because I traveled all over Hong Kong this time, or because I know Hong Kong well. Of course, I am not qualified to evaluate this city. It's because I came to this city with enough emotions. I want to use a video to talk about my admiration for him in the past, his anger later, my sympathy for him now, and my confusion about the future. Also, I personally feel that Hong Kong is actually a very typical Chinese city under the free market. It is a good way to understand Hong Kong, and it is also a mirror for understanding ourselves. So if you feel the same as me, or if you haven't experienced her glory, I hope you can watch this video. I almost spent my entire high school career listening to Beyond's songs, whether it was when they were a group of 4, when they were a group of 3, or when they finally went solo. I think many people are like me. The Hong Kong music that accompanies you through your youth makes you look up to Hong Kong infinitely. At that time, if you asked me to listen to Cantonese, I might not understand a word, but I don't know why. Children in southern China can always sing in Cantonese as if they were their mother tongue. This kind of cultural input is probably everywhere in China now. All are unmatched. Even Beijing's underground rock music became a legend that we are proud of because of a concert held at the Hung Hom Stadium that shocked the whole of Hong Kong. The street scenes of Mong Kok have appeared in countless movies, and it is also a paradise for street photography enthusiasts. This kind of street scene is probably only found in Hong Kong. But the wonder in your eyes is the life that others face every day. I really can't imagine what it would be like to live here year-round. If you are a tourist and stay here for a day or two, it should still feel fresh. No matter how developed the business or perfect living conditions are here, I don't think living here will be a pleasant place. Mong Kok is not only the place with the highest population density in Hong Kong, it is also the place with the highest population density in the world. The relatively low housing prices and rents here actually guarantee the living rights of the lowest class people in this super city of Hong Kong. They can find their own living space here with the lowest standards. I don't know if anyone has ever had such doubts. Unlike mainland China, in the core of Hong Kong's city center, most people can still set up stalls and open shops without caring about the so-called face of the city. Compared to shopping in Hong Kong, I really prefer to sit in Hong Kong's neighborhood parks. There is no crowding and noise here, only the real life of local people. Shanghai Street Tin Hao Ancient Temple. As soon as you walk in here, time slows down instantly, as if you have entered another space instantly. It is as if this place has not been washed away by time, and still maintains the same state as it was 100 years ago. Children, old people, and people with nothing to do can all find their own space here. Kowloon Park. I didn't expect that there would be a little surprise in Kowloon Park. Brother Sam was slacking off. McFlurry only sold for 8 Hong Kong dollars, and I leaned on the railing and watched the flamingos for half an hour. This was something I didn't expect. Even if I went there when I was in San Francisco, I could only see some seagulls on the beach. But these birds made me feel that this city suddenly felt alive and made this steel jungle less cold. For a mainlander, the handover of Hong Kong does not have any personal experience, because at that time, people could not travel freely, and ordinary people could not go to Hong Kong at will. Even now, your visit to Hong Kong may not be more expensive than your trip to Thailand. The convenience, at that time, even language was a barrier. Therefore, she is still a proud and cold existence. We still listen to Jackie Chan's songs and watch Stephen Chow's movies, but they all seem to exist in another world. All these changes started in 2003. SARS made me and Beijing have a common memory with Hong Kong. At first, SARS was just news on TV. Who would have known that in less than a month, ambulances speeding around would also appear on the streets of Beijing? In 2003, Leslie Chung committed suicide and Anita Mui died of illness. These events, which I usually don't pay much attention to, also filled the screens in mainland China. Many things really connected us with Hong Kong. When Infernal Affairs 3 was released in 2003, I still simply thought that only Hong Kong movies could compete with Hollywood. Of course, I was wrong. And then I discovered that Hong Kong movies have become history. No matter how their filmmakers make money or how famous they are in the mainland, the Hong Kong flavor has disappeared forever. In fact, Hong Kong began to integrate into China very early, and it will inevitably integrate into China. We all know that many directors, photographers, and artists are fond of Hong Kong. The urban form here is both ancient and science fiction, traditional and modern, Eastern and Western. Hong Kong has sufficient urbanization, and this urbanization has lasted for more than 100 years. Here you can find buildings, streets, and landscapes of various styles, histories, and sentiments. So, if you are a photographer, the experience of traveling through time and space provides an excellent creative space. Different from the single characteristics of mainland cities, Hong Kong's urban style has been tempered and mixed over time and has become full of charm. I sat for a while at the Standard Chartered Garden in Central. Surrounding you is the purely British-style Court of Final Appeal building from 1912. Behind it is the Hong Kong landmark built in 1985 and now looks very avant-garde, the Bank of China building. Next to it is the 1950-built nice Bank of China building. It can be said that walking on the edge of this park, you can enjoy not only a kind of scenery, but also the feeling of traveling through time and space. I was actually a little shocked when I saw Victoria Harbour in the evening. Although I have been to many places, the scenery here is definitely world-class. No matter what she looked like in the past, now she is indeed the most beautiful harbour I have ever seen. The British did have a vision 200 years ago. Not only is this location an excellent location, it also has beautiful scenery. Of course, today's Hong Kong people also understand the mood. The antique sailing boats, sailing on the sea constantly remind you of the historical heritage here. Although the 5 Hong Kong dollar Star Ferry is not very efficient, it allows all visitors to Hong Kong to completely immerse themselves in the scene 100 years ago. This experience can be said to be priceless. In 2008, China hosted the Olympic Games, which was the year in which the Chinese people felt the highest sense of pride. It was also the year when Hong Kong people had the greatest sense of identity as Chinese. Of course, looking back now, it was really beautiful back then. I think the same is true for Hong Kong. Everyone hopes that the country will be in a rising state. That hope for the future and pride in the country are overflowing on the faces of everyone on this continent. Even with the global financial crisis, we still got through it safely. Therefore, I naturally believe that at that time, Hong Kong and mainland people were truly connected. Hong Kong used to be a shopping paradise. For well-known reasons, countless mainlanders came here to purchase goods. I really don't have much say in shopping, because from my personal point of view, the shopping experience in Hong Kong is really not that good. I probably prefer shopping in Japan. But my friend told me that the number of people on the street is now much less than before the epidemic. I can only imagine the prosperity of Hong Kong in its golden period. But recently, Hong Kong people have gone to Shenzhen for shopping, and Hong Kong may be getting farther and farther away from its previous reputation as a shopping paradise.
香港太貴啦，牛肉太貴啦，嗰邊60蚊，呢度係200蚊，好多人嚟。
上面服務係好嘅，地方大，你會好多時都坐得舒服。香港好逼傑啊，真係啲人物花太大，我今個月都上咗幾次。
精打細算嘅香港人特登去到比較少。
This time I went, it happened to be Sunday, and all the Filipino maids on the street were on holiday. I walked through 3 blocks, and they were everywhere in the underground roads, roadsides, parks, and overpasses. Although they were sitting on the ground by the roadside, sleeping, chatting, dancing and singing, I can feel that this is a completely different ethnic group from the Chinese. Contented, enthusiastic, and uninhibited, if you turn your camera on them, they'll instantly become even more enthusiastic. The depressing homework that takes about 6 days a week should all be released in one day. On the surface, the Filipino maid system seems to involve unfair working hours and employment discrimination. But in fact, it is essentially a market selection behavior. Hong Kong has solved the local labor demand and also solved the employment problem for Filipino domestics. Although there were various problems in the middle. But what I can see is that Hong Kong has made a lot of legislative efforts to protect the rights of Filipino domestics. I think this is obviously showing a kind of humanistic care, not discrimination. As for real discrimination, you will find a bunch of uniformed people from nowhere, holding iron forks, to drive away these people sitting on the ground, and their name is to affect the image of the city. You see them gathering and resting happily on the street like this. I can only say that Hong Kong is actually doing pretty well. We all know what happened after 2014. There was a serious gap between Hong Kong and the mainland. Of course, there are many real reasons for these incidents, but the essence is the conflict between increasingly strict control and liberalism. In fact, it is not just Hong Kong. Young people in mainland China have clearly felt the consequences of this kind of control in recent years. But young people in Hong Kong have always lived in a liberal atmosphere and are more sensitive to the lack of their own rights. Of course, I can understand the legitimacy of Hong Kong people's defense of their rights. But from my perspective as a mainlander, no matter what Hong Kong does, it always hits an egg with an egg. After all, Hong Kong has been under the control of a big government from ancient times to the present. At this point in time when this government is so powerful, such a drastic reaction is entirely likely to trigger even stronger control. Therefore, at that time, the mentality of many mainland people was to sit on the sidelines. Mainland people knew the consequences of doing so, but Hong Kong people did not. I am not saying this to accuse Hong Kong people of defending their rights. Just as I said before that Taiwan's Democratic Progressive Party sometimes does not have enough political wisdom, Hong Kong people have made the same mistakes in recent years, leading to the current result. Doing the right thing and getting good results are sometimes not the same path. From my perspective, Hong Kong could still exist as a beacon for the mainland before, but now this beacon has obviously dimmed. Many programs have talked about the factors that make Hong Kong prosperous. They are nothing more than a superior geographical location, access to the mainland market, a sound legal society, a stable political environment, etc. But I personally think that two factors are the most important, namely the Chinese people and the legal society. Although I don't live here, the Chinese people's hard work and forbearance in life can be seen everywhere in this city. Of course, there are still many negative aspects in the Chinese people's philosophy of survival, such as profiteering and utilitarianism, and these are restricted by a Western legal system. The combination of these two factors has allowed Hong Kong to achieve tremendous prosperity over the past 100 years. Now, China's development has naturally brought Hong Kong into a new era. For a long time in the past, China needed Hong Kong more. Whether it is financial trade or institutional learning, it is obvious that Hong Kong's advantage no longer exists. Its importance has also declined. I think Hong Kong people going north to shop is just the beginning of Hong Kong's integration into China. There will definitely be more changes in the future to integrate Hong Kong into the Chinese system. I think it is not that far away that Hong Kong will become a city in mainland China. But I don't take this integration too pessimistically, because China is not as static as everyone imagines. Although it is still full of problems, I have always believed that the train of the times will move forward and reverse. People will be abandoned by everyone one day. I had been to Japan before coming to Hong Kong, and this would have a very big impact on me. What I felt most strongly in Japan was the equity between rich and poor, no matter if you see their business districts or living areas. Most of them can maintain the living conditions of the people at the lowest level. Moreover, the entire urban construction can basically guarantee the quality of life of most people. Of course, there are certain historical reasons why Japan can form such a social form. We will talk about it later. This is obviously not the case in Hong Kong. It is also a developed economy. This is my first time in Hong Kong. When I came out of Tsim Sha Tsui MTR station and looked up at the tall and dense buildings, I actually had no good impression of Hong Kong. This is not a normal living environment. No matter how many people are shopping in the shops downstairs, no matter where you are, how high is the income here? Would you like to live in a place like this again? It wasn't until later that I discovered that real estate developers in the mainland had also learned the essence of this. They had large tracts of land, but they tricked you into buying a house in a pigeon cage in the city, using up all your or your family's life savings just for a few dollars. 10 square meters. I am very sure that certain characteristics of the Chinese people play a role in both Hong Kong and mainland China. This feeling is actually very similar to what I took in the Shenzhen factory. Why were you willing to come to East Asia to open factories before? I am not just referring to the mainland, but including Hong Kong, Taiwan, Southeast Asia and other greater Chinese areas. It sounds good, but it is essentially because of what the Chinese call hardworking and conscientious. To put it bluntly, it's just a bit of ignorance, a disregard for one's own rights and a contempt for the social legal system, which will lead to this being always seen wherever there are Chinese people. Singapore is the other extreme of this situation, which is to use strong legal systems to create a healthier society with Chinese as the majority. I hope that we can have a good discussion on this topic in Singapore in the future. Many people have said before that Hong Kong people have poor service attitudes towards mainlanders. In fact, after visiting Hong Kong a few times, I found that everyone should have a certain understanding of Hong Kong people. Living in an area with the highest population density, we have to contact them every day. It is difficult for a large number of people not to feel irritable. It's just like when you go to Europe and the United States, even in super big cities, there won't be many people gathered. They may say hello to strangers when they meet them, and they look very friendly. People are the shapers of the environment, and the environment will in turn affect people. In the past many years in Hong Kong, local real estate developers and chaebols have controlled almost the vast majority of resources, and ordinary workers have not received good living conditions. And this kind of thing is still happening in the mainland. The above may really offend some people, but this is what I have observed. As a Chinese, I always feel that we should go out and see more. The world is a big place, we have long since separated from the agricultural society, and we must adapt to our thinking. Keep up, otherwise even if you live in a high-rise building, your vision will still be the same as that of a frog in a well. Okay, let's talk so much about Hong Kong. I don't know what the future will be like for Hong Kong, but I sincerely hope that it will get better. I hope that the Pearl of the Orient can regain its former glory. Finally, let's watch a street performance by young people in Hong Kong. Let's end my video.